This is an emergency transmission. Citizens of the world, please, make no mistake. The zombie apocalypse is near. Will you cower and hide, or join us and fight? We are Dezombified, so stay on point and watch your six.
And we are live. Hey, everybody, how's it going? Welcome back for Real Evil Season 2 premiere.
Live. Hey, everybody,
who's got in the chat? I'm hearing myself in my headphones. Melissa Nicole is with us here. First one through the door.
Oh my God, what's going on?
Get some feedback there, Dezombified. Dylan Clark, Pam Smith.
Wait, I can't.
Infinite Psychosis. Hang on for a minute. We're going to wait for the feedback to
Make sure it's not me.
It's not me. I got headphones on. Technical difficulties, folks. Mercury's still in retrograde, so give us a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
Was it you, Gemma?
Technical difficulties, folks. Mercury's still in retrograde, so give us a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
Was it you, Gemma? Technical difficulties, folks. Mercury's still in retrograde, so give us a minute.
Yeah, definitely.
New for season 2, all the feedback you can eat.
New for season 2, all the feedback you can eat.
You guys are used to this by now. It's been this way since Mercury hit retrograde with all 3 of our channels. So,
and we didn't even mention the Black-Eyed Kids yet. What's going on?
Used to this by now. It's been this way since Mercury hit retrograde with all 3 of our channels. So,
and we didn't even mention the Black-Eyed Kids yet. What's going on?
Okay, I don't hear anything now, but I bet the audience can't hear us either. Okay, are we back now? I hear just a little bit of music in the background. It's kind of ambient space sounds. Music for Airports by Brian Eno. The soundtrack for movies that haven't been filmed yet. Perfect music for family gatherings. If your family happens to be the Manson family. I don't know if anybody can hear me or not. I'm just having a lark here. Let's see. Messages in the chat. Jimmy, it looks like your mic's muted in the chat. Okay, so you can't hear me. Yeah, mine's set for mix minus. If yours has that, Gemma. Mix minus what's going out, so that way it doesn't feed back. Well, let's see. Can the audience hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me in YouTube land? Okay, they can hear me. I'm going to go ahead and get started talking while Gemma we'll get those technical difficulties ironed out. So let me start over. Melissa Nicole's here. How are you doing? Melissa, for those of you who didn't know it, she's a pro wrestler, and her finishing move is called the Carolina Squat. Dylan Clark, good to have you with us, Dylan. He's half of a very, very good podcast. Creepy Unsolved or Creepy Unknown. I'm shouting out, Dylan. I forgot the name. Go ahead and put the name of it in the chat there. Pam Smith is with us. Infinite Psychosis. Blue Heron. Missing Persons and Mysteries. That's me. I'm logged in under the channel account today. Gamma Akutabi. I hope I got that right. Sweetly Morbid Bear. Blue Heron. And of course, our very own Gemma there. Kari F is with us. Kari, are you at work? Or are you actually taking some time off? Fear the Great White. Hola. Justin Mellows Music and Vlogs. Hello, Justin. Body Void's here. There's Mom. Hey, Mom, we can't hear Gemma right now. I'm not sure what's going on. We'll hopefully have things underway in a minute here. Sock Goblin, Amazing WTF. Always a pleasure. Camaro Z28. How are you, Clem? Scrolling on down. Of course, Dezombified's in the chat. Joker's Demise. How you doing, buddy? Nick Y. Let's see if I missed anybody. I'm scrolling. I don't know about you guys, but I will be glad when Miss Mercury in retrograde business is over with. KDA, one of my favorite Canadians. How are you doing? Good to see you here with us, dear. Let's see. I think I'm caught up on the chat. Maybe. Yep. Oh, Sean G, Chasing the Truth. Hey, Sean, another good friend of the channel, good friend of mine. He's got Chasing the Truth Paranormal on the Dark Waters Network Saturdays. Be sure and check that out. He has some great guests and takes calls and all kinds of things. Hang on just a second here. Let me check something. Help me. Jim has been held hostage, looks like. No, I had to get word out. I'm going to take a picture on my phone here and send it to her. So I think that's what seems to be going on with her. Let's see. Oh, Kari, thanks for the message. Can't hear Gemma, really? Thank you for letting us know. Okay. Gemma, if you can hear me, check your phone. Gemma, unmute your mic in the chat, the Google Meet.
Okay.
Gemma, unmute your mic in
There you go.
the chat, the Google Meet.
Is this going to fix it?
I don't know, but I can hear you now.
Okay.
Gemma, unmute your mic in there you go, chat,
Unmute my... Is this going to fix it? This
It's starting to feed back again. Leave your mic unmuted, but mute the browser or wherever that.
I am. The browser is muted. Hold. You know what? I'll go out and come back in. I'm gonna go out and come back in. Everything is on mute. Mute. Are we good now?
I think it's working now. Let's see.
Guys, if that was me that entire time, I'm so sorry. No, I don't have headphones, but I am getting some, so I'm sorry. I don't know what changed. I do everything the same exact way every week.
We did it last week.
But I'm really sorry, but we can, if you guys can hear me, maybe we can get started. Dezombified, sorry. All right.
The joys of live anything. This is what happens
during Mercury retrograde.
And we'll go wrong, and especially during Metro retrograde, Mercury retrograde.
But you know what, guys?
The black-eyed kids are involved.
We always have extra time. Battle Royale starting. What could be better? Nick Y, thanks for joining us. All of our regulars. My mom in the chat. So tonight we are talking about. This is season 2. First of all, welcome to season 2 of Dezombified Real Evil with Steve and Gemma. We are going to do the 13 episodes, 1 episode each of urban legends. Okay. 1 episode each from each of the 13 original colonies here in the United States. And of course, we're starting with New Jersey because that is my home and beloved state. And so yeah, gonna run through some urban legends, but they have to be real evil urban legends. They can't be fluffy, cute urban legends because we're dealing with real evil here. So again, forgive me if I don't go through and say hello to everybody because I feel like a real a-hole because that was all my fault and I'm sitting here so confused, like what the heck is going on, and it was me. But all right, so Steve, do you want to start with an urban legend from New Jersey, a real evil urban legend from New Jersey?
Evil New Jersey, and I don't think there's any lack of evil in New Jersey from what I've been reading and looking at here. I'm going to start with just kind of a short one here. I'll just pick the top one there. The Devil's Tree. The Devil's Tree is located in Bernard's Township, or Bernard's Township, however you say it. It's if you go online and take a look at it, it's a really creepy looking tree. Now, legend says that this tree is cursed and harm will come to anyone who disrespects it. So, tree, I did not mean creepy in a bad way. The stories around the tree vary, but all center around hangings, all the way from lynchings to suicides. Allegedly, snow does not fall around the tree or melts instantly upon touching it. The Devil's Tree is currently surrounded by a chain link fence due to vandalism, not due to it killing people, but I don't know that I would take the chance anyway, even if it didn't have a chain link fence around it. But I've seen pictures of it where it has graffiti and things all over it, and people climbing up and putting beer cans on it, or throwing tennis shoes up in the branches. Excuse me. But it's one of those, I think the very first lynching that was done from it, the person that was being hung cursed the tree and the ground and all the townspeople. And that was something that that was very common back in colonial times. People were wrongly accused of stuff. It was probably witchcraft or something like that, because that was a sure ticket to be hung or burned alive or drowned. And a lot of them would place a curse on the people watching and whatever was happening to them. So there's power in your words. You know, even the Bible says that you have what you confess with your mouth. So I think it is possible to put a curse like that, to speak forth something into existence that didn't necessarily exist just through the power of your tongue. You have the power of life and death in your tongue, and you can put that on other people. So interesting. But if you're in New Jersey, stay away from the Devil's Tree or look at it from a distance, but don't disrespect the tree unless you're a daredevil. Now, if she's not with us, but Ann Palmer likes to sleep with her toes out from under the covers at night, just daring anything in the darkness to bite her on the feet. We have this discussion every night on Ghost Stories at midnight on 13 Past Midnight. So what have you been to the Devil's Tree, Gemma?
I have not been to the Devil's Tree, but I do plan on putting it on my tour of the state when we start going out and touring different states to find the creepiest, scariest, and most evil urban legends in that state. So it's definitely on my list. A lot of these that I think we're going to cover tonight are on my list, just places. I don't know what is going on right now. My microphone's moving all around. There's a lot of places with the name Devil in the name that have some kind of curse on them, or, you know, and like you said, it's all about what you confess with your tongue and say with your mouth. There's a lot of power, again, as you said, in your words. So I think just calling something that is asking for trouble.
Yeah.
So
I wonder if the opposite of that would work. This is the money tree. It's cursed with
the money and wealth tree.
Finding gold at the roots of the tree. Hey, you never know. You can manifest things. A lot of what's going on right now, I believe I manifested by thinking about it and willing it into existence. Because I was bored and needed something to do, and here everybody is.
So what I want to talk about tonight is, well, the first evil urban legend I want to talk about tonight takes place in Toms River, which is in South Jersey. It's called the Toms River Terror, or the Toms River Horror. And a few years ago, a family purchased a home in a neighborhood. The address is, it's public knowledge, so I'm not giving anything away here. The address is 100 Terrence Ave in Toms River. I believe it's on the eastern side of the city. After they purchased the home, they left all their belongings, did a complete, the Lutzes from the Amityville Horror, just left everything there and fled after only a week, claiming there had been strange noises, strange occurrences. Allegedly, doors would be opening and shutting, whispers would come through the vents, dragging and scraping sounds were coming from the basement. The scariest part of the story is there was an urban legends website, and a staff writer went to interview the family at the house, and they actually caught the voice of a ghost child on their recorder while interviewing the family, and you can find that online. So a little bit more, I guess they rented the house. They didn't purchase the home, sorry. So it's like prosaic demons haunting the house, or some people said that they just wanted to kind of get out of the rent because you have to put so much of a deposit down. They decided they didn't want to live there. But I think that's really pushing it for not wanting to live somewhere. Do you know what I mean? You can find other things to say. And I think these people would be very foolish if that's what they were doing, because like we were just talking about, you can put something like that into words. You can cause a haunting. But they told people that they and their children fled the home when it was really cold one night in March, just in their pajamas. It was around 1 a.m. They said that they and their children were terrified by a litany of ghostly visitations. They said they find their clothes and towels coming, ejected from closets and strewn on the floors. Doors would creak open, slam shut in areas of the house that nobody else was in. Lights would switch on and off without, a human being involved. And at night, and this is like the classic, these are all classic signs of poltergeist activity, actually. Footsteps could be heard from the kitchen after everyone else was, sleeping. And then this unintelligible whispering, which to me is not really associated with poltergeist, but in my experience, demonic. So is there more than one thing going on here? Unintelligible whispering, fading in and out of thin air with footsteps. And they said none of any of this was bad. Like, this was actually could have been tolerable but they said what they heard through the floor vents was the absolute most terrifying. The rumbling of something down below in the dark of their unfinished basement. I know somebody that recently moved into a rental house in Toms River, and when they went to the same town, when they went to get their cable turned on, I believe it was their cable, the cable guy actually would not go down into their basement by himself because he said he had seen and heard things either in that particular house or in Toms River in general. Toms River is a very old town in New Jersey. It's an old shore town, and old shore towns like Cape May, Wildwood, even Point Pleasant, these shore towns in Ocean County, Atlantic County, even down there, I believe it's Monmouth County. It's haunted. There's a lot of rich history of, people who were at sea that died, the old spooky hotels, the mob that used to meet between New York and Philadelphia would go down there and stay in the hotels and kill people, bury people, drown people, right? Go out on yachts and throw people overboard, throw bodies. So it's almost as notorious as the Pine Barrens, which I'm sure we'll cover here, but Toms River is one of those old shore towns that is inherently haunted. So that is the Toms River Terror, 100 Terrence Ave, Toms River, New Jersey.
I'd like to check that out. It sounds like a place. I don't think I've ever been to Toms River. I've been to Cape May, which is gorgeous. And you mentioned how a lot of these coastal areas and things, it's that way all up and down the eastern seaboard and out here on the west coast too. There's something about water and the shore, the seashore in particular, that brings some kind of evil out of it. I don't know what it is, if it's just all the people that have been lost at sea and the power that you have, just the natural power of the sea. But there's something there that really puts things in perspective, because you have all these hauntings. It's not just the ocean either. A lot of times the river towns, Knoxville, Tennessee, where I grew up, it's right there on the Tennessee River, has a history of hauntings. If all those Memphis, Nashville, places like that, anything that's near water, even smaller places, found that there's a lot of just evil hauntings along creeks and things like that. There's a place called Beaver Creek that runs from Virginia all the way down into Georgia, and just every little bit along there will be a headless horseman or a murder or a curse or something. So there's something to do with water and all that. And I'm not sure.
There's a lot of energy in water.
Yeah,
water.
Ghosts can't close water, but another one that I found strange, and it's kind of similar to other ones that we'll cover. We'll talk about Clinton Road. Everybody knows about that one. But there's also Burnt Mill Road, and that's another thing. A lot of times when a tragedy or something has occurred in a place, it keeps that evil energy there and is able to seemingly manifest stuff just through what's happened in the past. Now, this is known as the Atco Ghost, and it's one of the more popular urban legends, apparently in Jersey, but you don't hear that much outside of Jersey like you do Shades of Death Road or Clinton Road. But the Atco Ghost is said to appear on Burnt Mill Road when drivers honk 3 times. Now, this is in the Pine Barrens, and the legend has it that a ghost boy haunts the site where he was struck by a drunk driver. So again, you have a child, a loss of life, and then 3s. Usually things are demonic or evil. There will be a number 3 in there somewhere. I know in things that I've been involved with where people were scratched in haunted locations, there will be a series of 3 scratches. That's a mocking of the Holy Trinity, which is one surefire indicator that whatever you're dealing with is evil, real evil, and demonic. But again, there's similar stories, which we'll get into from Clinton Road, almost the same story, where you stop on a bridge and you honk 3 times and you throw money in the water, but we'll get to that. But there's just something about the Pine Barrens that's barren. I mean, that very word there, it's just,
and it's not even barren, but whatever.
Well,
it's like the most greenery we have all in one spot, but there are places in it that is barren and have never grown anything since like the dawn of time.
Yeah, and I was thinking more barren as in there's no good energy there, no life energy there, no happy people. I mean, you're not going to expect something good to happen in a place called the Pine Barrens.
You're right.
Places have names for the Dismal Swamp. Now, would you go there for family picnic and to have a good time? Imagine what their ad campaign would look like if they wanted to draw tourism. Come to the Great Dismal Swamp.
I just snarfed smoke out of my nose. I'm sorry, guys.
That's called a magic dragon when you do that.
You know what? Off the hook all day. I'm just, guys, Dezombified. So you're gonna so fire me. They're like, this chick is crazy. All right. So, all right.
Go ahead and pick another one there, Gemma.
Yep.
And enlighten us to some creepy, evil stuff.
So, okay. Give me one sec, guys. I'm sorry. I have a good one here, but I forgot to pull up my research. Good thing we have all night. So the massacre at Long Beach took place in 1782 on October 26th. And what happened was a privateer captain, Andrew Steelman, his crew from the armed row galley Alligator, which is spelled wrong, and a few local residents slept on the beach after an exhausting day of unloading the cargo from the cutter. En route from Belgium to St. Thomas that ran around on the Barnegat Shoals, notorious Captain John Bacon, with a band of loyalists, attacked and captured the ship and cargo, according to Patriots' accounts. About 20 mostly unarmed and unsuspecting Patriots, including Captain Steelman, were slaughtered. And that's from the sign that is at Long Beach Island, and actually the plaque outside of Viking Village. So we know that anytime, right, there's any kind of massacre. Now, this doesn't particularly sound evil, but think about it. Think about, I'm not saying this is on such a large scale, but think about Gettysburg, even the St. Valentine's Day massacre. As anytime there's anything called massacre, especially when unarmed, sleeping, and unsuspecting people are being killed, that's going to leave behind some really bad juju. And Long Beach Island is said to be extremely haunted, especially the beach. There's been ghost, footprints in the sand. There's been people who have sworn that they've seen, what looks like a grave at low tide. Would it be low tide when the water's all the way out, right? Low tide, and then high tide would come in and it would be gone, but by the time they'd come back, it was like a ghost grave. So leaving behind all of this energy, and LBI is actually beautiful, but there's always that energy that gets left behind whenever there's a massacre, or even when one person dies tragically and when you don't suspect it. That's where the energy stays back. It becomes evil. It gets stuck. It becomes angry. I mean, imagine even just if you're there as spirit, seeing all these people vacationing and having fun when all you were doing was sleeping, and I don't like when people say woke up dead, because it doesn't sound right, but think about that on an energy level, how incredibly evil that is. And if you look into the massacre at Long Beach, you really look into it and research it, you can find so much about hauntings, people being held under the water. So evil massacre at Long Beach there. Ooh, I got a good one for the next one. Go ahead, Steve.
Okay.
Guys, just so you know,
I don't want to take
week,
the one you're going to take.
No, it's okay. There's like 4 of them that are really good. Next week will probably be a little more organized. I got thrown off my game with what happened with my equipment, so like I'm a little out of it. My blood pressure's all up, and we kind of weren't sure if we were going to go with this or something else, which we're going to be doing for season 3. So, Steve and I, we always start off slow, but in the end we end up killing it. No pun intended. So, go ahead, Steve.
Okay, the next one I'm going to take here, a gentleman known as James Still, MD. He was a 19th century African-American doctor, but was unable to practice due to his race. Now, that's one thing that you don't hear a lot of. You hear a lot about, particularly around that century, there's a lot of racism, particularly in the South, and bad things happening to African-American people, but it went on in the North as well. And that's another legend from the Pine Barrens there. just because this guy, and he was a doctor. He was somebody who was dedicated to helping people, to saving lives and treating the sick. But they didn't want him to practice because of his race. So according to the legend, they took him out in the Pine Barrens and lynched him. And now there are other variants of that where he went on to become a local hero, supposedly survived the lynching. I don't know how that works, and went on much later to die a natural death. But one thing that is agreed upon, he haunts certain areas of the Pine Barrens and has been known to just come out of the woods and aid injured travelers. And this has been people that were hiking or camping in the Pine Barrens.
He doesn't always aid them, though.
Yeah. Sometimes he scares the pants off of them, or there's a lot of unexplained deaths and things in the Pine Barrens. Now, a lot of that's been attributed to mobsters. Now, that's another reason that it could be haunted. I mean, they found bodies there missing the heads. They found heads that didn't have a body. They tried to match them up, and it was a no-go. So we've got a lot of spare parts available there in the Pine Barrens. And I think that another thing that's a pervasive evil there, when you're, if you're killing people and throwing their bodies in this area, there's gonna be residual evil there too. Things that are gonna, and they say evil begets evil, and there you go. The more evil that pours in there, the more evil that's held there, and the more evil that comes out of there and that's drawn to it. So
I think there are people also that say that doctor, and this is a little bit weird, but I just did a quick look through that if he somehow will know if you're a descendant of the people who killed him. And if you are, you could literally have no idea and just be walking through and he will attack you. But if you're just a regular person, he's like a sweet, kindly doctor. But if you, for whatever reason, have that blood in you, don't go out searching for him because you never know. So guys, I'm going to get a little cliche here, but this place is somewhere I visited in my teen years. It was not fun and something I don't recommend, mainly because of the rats. Back then, and I'm going to show my age here, we did not have cell phones, especially not ones with cameras. We had they weren't even starting to get small yet. They were just starting to get handheld. We had those big things that you held on your shoulder, so nobody, had one of those to just take along with us. But I wish we did, because we got so much stuff and so much paranormal activity that we saw. We saw shadow beings. We heard growling. One of my friends got scratched, and it's crazy because my friend who got scratched ended up maybe 10 or 11 years ago. About 15 years ago, she got into a car accident. She was in the car. I'll just tell this quickly because she was with me when I went to visit this place. She got into a car accident. She was in the car with 4 or 5 other females. I was not one of them. And they went over a cliff, and all of the other females died except her. About 11 years ago, so about 4 years later, she was driving drunk, and she already had a DUI and was trying to evade a cop who was behind her. I guess she was swerving. She hit a tree. Her airbag did not deploy. She died. A week later, her grandmother and grandfather who raised her went to put flowers on the tree that she hit to die, and a guy's truck, he was not under the influence of anything. He did not fall asleep at the wheel. He did not have a medical emergency. He said his truck just turned, hit the grandmother. The grandmother hit the tree and died immediately on impact a week later after she died. And I always thought to myself, did it have something to do with the scratches? Because 3 scratches are demonic. When you get scratched with fingernails, even if it's 3, right? If I come up and claw you, you're going to get that like puffy skin around the scratches. I know this because my son, he's a toddler. He gets long nails, scratches. You get that puffy skin. But when you get clawed, you do not get that same puffy skin. And I'm talking about Trenton Psychiatric Hospital. Like I said, total cliche, psychiatric hospitals. I think maybe every state might even have one that's haunted, right? But I'm telling you guys, this one was. Steve, I would love to go back there.
We'll put it on our list.
Psychiatric hospitals tend to attract, I live nowhere near Trenton, but I would definitely travel to go back. They tend to attract a lot of negative energies because of, especially back in the day, like when this place was active, the way that the mentally ill or even the criminally insane used to be treated. There was more than, the murder, the madness. It's like it attracts evil itself. Something gets into the people that worked at these places and abused these people and watched these people die, and all of this abuse and neglect that went on. You have to be a certain kind of evil person, I think, to even be able to work in that way at one of these places, to take advantage of and abuse people who have these severe mental illnesses. And unfortunately, we know mental illness has come very far only in the last, 10, 15 years, right? So in New Jersey, many psychiatric hospitals have been demolished, but the Trenton Psychiatric Hospital was never demolished, and it remains as is from the day it was shut down. There was still equipment in there when we went. So if I was 14 or 15, that would be 1997, 1998. It's believed that the Trenton Hospital's director, Dr. Henry Cotton, supposedly believed that patients could be cured of their mental illness if you removed their organs. He indulged in many malpractices on patients, and he didn't even have the tiny bit of decency to use any kind of anesthetic. These procedures of his led to the death of hundreds of patients, and it's said that even now, and I heard it with my own ears all those years ago, screams can be heard. Like this says, shadowy figures are seen every now and then. I must have seen about 6 of all different shadow entities. And some believe it's the souls of not only the people who died on Dr. Cotton's table, but also the people that died of abuse and neglect. And plus, they would put the mentally ill, the mentally disabled, and also the criminally insane all in the same units in the same place. I don't know if they did that everywhere, but I know in New Jersey they did that. And that's 101 Sullivan Way, Trenton, New Jersey, 08628, United States. That's pretty far for me, but again, I would definitely travel. So here we have an evil doctor. I'm sure there were plenty of evil nurses. You know, if we were covering just one urban legend, it might actually be this one. I'm sure there's more information on this one than any other one. Almost. I think the Devil's Tree and the Devil's Tower. But yeah, guys, Trenton Psychiatric Hospital still as is, and I'm sure you could get arrested for trespassing, so I'm not telling anyone to go and do that. You know, Steve and I would probably go through the proper and legal procedures to be able to go in and conduct an investigation. So.
And then something you mentioned, particularly with those older, they used to call them insane asylums. The ones that were older, they did a lot of medical experiments there. Like you mentioned, you know, he thought that maybe removing the organs would be a good thing. There was one there in East Tennessee in Knoxville called the Eastern State Insane Asylum and the Eastern State Hospital, and that's Lake Shore Mental Health or something like that. But some of the first successful lobotomies were performed there. Now let that sink in a minute. Some of the first successful lobotomies. Think about how many weren't successful and how bad they messed those people up, taking parts of their brain out. Now that's a frightening thought to me, that you hear about, you know, the good things that were done and the groundbreaking medical experiments that were performed. What about all the ones that just didn't work out? I mean, you've got somebody doing a Jeffrey Dahmer here where they're trying to create a zombie by drilling a hole in their head and pouring chemicals in there. It kind of equates to the same thing. Now, of course, they did it in the name of medicine and in the name of science, but I think there was just a lot of prankery. Just, you know, let's see what happens. You know, it's not costing us anything. And I think when you have death, that type of tragic circumstances were totally unnecessary. Like Blue Heron saying, there's shock treatments, suffering, death, suicide, lots of residual evil energy.
The R word.
Absolutely. We'll visit that when we do our Jersey Death Trip tour. But again, evil begets evil, and I think where you have things that go on like that, it draws the demonic in there. I used to date a psychiatric nurse, and a lot of the stories that I would hear, it sounds, I mean, there's an element of evil in there, like you were saying, almost a demonic type presence around some of these people. I mean, are they really crazy, or are they being attacked by demons that we can't see? I mean,
I always say that.
So much conjecture out there. But you think about that. Talked about one person who had murdered her sister, and they had her locked in a cell, and she claimed that her sister was coming in and trying to harm her. but it was like a demonic version of her sister that could pass through walls. And the lady would have scratches. There we go with the scratches again on herself in places that she couldn't reach while she was locked in a cell. So there is a very powerful evil around some of these mental facilities because of what's gone on there and the people that have been in there and what was following them around. You know, if you have something like that attached to you and you expire, where does it go? Now, Christ cast them into the swine, but if nobody's like that around to take care of them, do they just go into other people? Do they hang around? Do they, you know, that's scary to think about.
Definitely. My mom said even that she remembers the girl that I'm talking about with the crazy grandma. And my mom just brought up something. Mom, we're definitely going to cover that because Pennsylvania is one of the original 13 colonies. So we'll be covering that in this season. My mother and I, when I was about 18, went to a place called Henryville House in Pennsylvania. And my mom wanted to break in. It was me, my mom. It was me, my mom, one of her friends, and I'm like, Mom, we can't do that. She's like, yeah, we can. She's like, just go hold the door. She's like, she's like, you go in first though, and if you scream, we'll come in again. And we took
Mom,
pictures
when we go on our death trip tour, we're taking you with us. We're gonna.
I was just gonna say,
Mom's attitude.
My mom said I have pictures. I was gonna say we still even have pictures, so maybe for that episode, I'll show you guys the pictures. So, Steve, what's next?
Well, let's see here. I was enjoying all the banner back and forth on that.
That's what I said. We could have done like a whole episode on that, you know?
Yeah, let's go back in here. I already mentioned Clinton Road and Shades of Death Road, so I'll just go ahead and I think I'll just take both of those at once because they're kind of in the same area. Clinton Road, 10-mile stretch of highway near West Milford that runs from Route 23 to Upper Greenwood Lake. Now, spooky legends have surrounded this lonely stretch of road for over 100 years. It's apparently been host to ghosts, witches, unearthly animals, earthly clansmen, and more than a few phantom vehicles. One story says that two brothers stumbled across a KKK meeting on the road near Cross Castle. They made it out alive, but the same can't be said for everyone who was toured down this paranormal path. 1983, a cyclist on the road, I don't know, doesn't say if it's a bicycle or motorcycle, but somebody on a two-wheel conveyance, spotted vultures circling a tree. After further exploration, he discovered a garbage bag with a human head sticking out. Now, don't tell anybody or they'll all want one. The investigation surrounding the murder led to the conviction of notorious mafia hitman Richard the Iceman Kuklinski. So there you go, just like the Pine Barrens, and I think that is near or almost close to the Pine Barrens. Mm-hmm. Again, a lot of these desolate places, lonely stretches of highway. What better place to ditch a body, or in this case, just a head? Like, you imagine, like, poking around out in the woods and finding a trash bag with a human head in it. And that's something that they like to do. People that are disposing of bodies, they'll cut it up. Sometimes you'll have a torso and a head and the separate limbs, and then they'll drop it in different places, you know, jigsaw puzzle type things, because that way it's harder to identify the whole body if you don't have all the pieces, apparently. Now, also, Warren County, Shades of Death Road. Now, it's another place that's surrounded by local lore. Supposedly, the road got its name after a plague killed so many local residents that the morgues were so full that bodies had to be laying in the street. But now, Clinton Road, it's also got what in the lore they call crybaby bridges. There's a couple different bridges on Clinton Road where if you stop, and again, with the threes, you either honk your car horn 3 times or you call out 3 times. But there is a boy that supposedly drowned in the water beneath one of the bridges there on Clinton Road. And if you go at 3 o'clock in the morning, there's 3 again, and throw coins into the water, you have to leave. And then when you come back, you'll find your coins laying in the middle of the road on the bridge. And I've seen videos of people on YouTube that have done that have tried that. They found money, but, you know, was it the same money they threw in, or was it all a setup? Who knows? But it's still interesting to think about. And it has its own Dead Man's Curve where several cars have gone off the road. Now, you wonder about that sometimes. Is that an evil that's attached itself to the area that causes accidents and things? Or is it just poor planning of the infrastructure who laid out the highway for the Department of Transportation maybe put kind of a wonky curve in there. I could take you to a place in East Tennessee that's just the speed and the way the road curves. If you're not anticipating it, you'll run right off into the ditch. So it could be something like that, or is it something evil? Like you were just talking about, the guy was driving and his truck just turned on its own, and was there some evil out there that was just like, F that grandma that wanted to knock her into a tree? And I'm not trying to make fun here, but
she was one of those people that was always very mean and rude. I'm not trying to speak ill of the dead, but she would tell you right to her face that she hated your guts. She would tell you everything that was wrong with you. She would wish hurt on you. She would put the evil eye on you. So she wasn't the nicest person. I'm wondering if something that was with her wanted to be with her granddaughter, who she raised and loved very much. So, and they definitely, Mom, I wasn't busy. I was sleeping. My mom's helping me with the cover for my Missing in the Fae Theory book, which I should have out next month. Yay. But I wonder if maybe there was some kind of pull from those two, if maybe something evil turned the wheel of his car. They did, I don't know if you guys know, but New Jersey is tough on drunk drivers. It's one of the toughest states in the country on drunk drivers. I know a lot of people are starting to crack down now, but they were always like this. They fully investigated this guy, like fully. Like they took every kind of toxicology you could possibly take. They went into his life. They went into like his financials. Like they tortured this guy they just didn't believe his story. They were trying to see if there was some kind of connection, that he somehow knew the grandmother, because the grandfather was the nicest guy you'd ever want to meet. He was just this kindly old grandfather, like literally like typed to everybody that was around my friend. But the grandmother was just not a good person. She just wasn't a nice person. And, they were wondering, did the guy have some kind of grudge against her because she was, such a horrible person? So yeah, really, really, really wild for sure. And that happened though. That didn't happen in New Jersey. That happened in Virginia, actually, but she was from New Jersey. So did you go through yet? I was talking in the chat.
Pretty much, but I think
Clinton Road is close to me.
It's just, and I like to travel it a couple of times back and forth at night when we do our New Jersey death trip and see what we can come up with on camera. But next up, I'd like to see, because I know you have personal experience with this one. And I was going to say that sometimes, like evil can be drawn to a place. Sometimes I think it's just there. It's been there since the dawn of civilization, maybe. Mm-hmm. But sometimes people can do things on purpose, like a curse that we were talking about earlier, that put evil in a place, that bring evil to a place by what they go there and what their intent is. And what I'm speaking of, and what I'd like you to embellish and talk about, is the gates of hell.
Oh, okay.
I don't even know if it's on the list, but I know you've been there. And I know that's
I was going to do, I'll do it afterwards, Lambertville High School. So yeah, there's this place, and I said this, I think in the podcast that we did, we started off with Weird New Jersey. But I like talking about places that I've been to, and I've got to say I haven't been to that many because I am a fraidy cat, or at least I really used to be. Now that I do this kind of for a living and it's my job, I've become much more open to pretty much everything except demons. But so there's a place in Clifton, New Jersey, which is right next to where I was born and raised, and I actually went to school in Clifton. I was raised there for a little while as well. And it was behind a pathmark. There was a railroad tracks pathmark on Paulson Ave in Clifton. And the pathmark isn't there anymore. It's something else. But there were these old railroad tracks, and they had these tunnels, right? And if you go into the tunnels, it would walk you to a park that was about 5 or 6 blocks away. But what would happen was, and I think this is where a lot of the haunted, paranormal, and even demonic, or haunted and paranormal activity came from, was kids would try to walk the tunnel to take a shortcut to get to the other side by the park to get home from school quicker. And what would happen was they'd have these flash floods and the kids would drown. It was at least once every other month that kids would drown in this park in Clifton. I mean, it was crazy. This was when I was in middle school. So again, 94, 95, 96, so yeah, it was a while ago. I'm sure they've done something about it now. But anyway, In the beginning of these tunnels, or if you were to be brave enough to walk inside the tunnels, there were all of these, it would say, welcome to the gates of hell with the pentagram. I think it's called pentagram. And there would be slaughtered and exsanguinated animals in there. You were lucky if you didn't run into, and I'm not just talking about the 80s death metal teens who want to be cool and pretend to be devil worshippers. I'm not talking about satanic panic. I'm talking about real, actual devil worshippers. There would be burnt candles down there. There would be, you would hear chanting. If you walked by at night, which I did because I used to walk from the park to home and I'd have to pass by this place. I never went all the way in the tunnels. I might have went about a quarter of a mile in one of them one day and then was too scared and left. You would find bones and, even pages of books of rituals. And you would hear, if you walked by at night, chanting and see people in hoods, in cloaks. And I mean, the stories that we would hear were about the high school kids, because we were in middle school. But I don't think it was high school kids. I think it was older people and maybe like older kids, like 19, 20, 21 years old, who were doing these satanic rituals and performing these animal sacrifices and Lord knows what else down there. And I've got to tell you, since we did even the podcast back in, I think, October or November, I've looked into this. There were so many young kids who murdered other young kids, either in cars in that area, in the tunnels themselves. More deaths of kids drowning. It's called the Gates of Hell in Clifton. Like I said, by now, I'm sure they've done something about it. It was kids that everyone said they were such good kids. They got good grades. They were honor roll students. And, they're luring this other mentally ill kid out into a car and say, oh, that's what it was called. The Hail Mary murder was the one I remember the most. These 2 or 3 of these popular kids lured this kind of mentally slow boy from their school out to the gates of hell. They walked through the tunnels. The boy was scared. He was crying. He may have even peed himself. He wanted to go home. He was slow, but he wanted to be friends with these kids so bad. So they used him, and they would always play jokes on him. So anyway, they get into the car and they're like, you can sit in the front. And he's like, really? I can, and he's crying. And they're like, yeah, we want you to feel better. The one kid came from behind him and, strangled him. And all of the other 3 boys started saying Hail Mary while they did it. What came over these boys? It's not the first story I can tell you. It's not the last I'm going to be able to tell you. Like, it's not the only story. There are so many of them, but that's always the one I remember. Like, these non-religious but good kids, these good teenagers that hung out with this kid all the time and never bullied him. They would save him from bullies in school, never picked on him. All of a sudden, like, once they started for the whole week traveling past the gates of hell and going in and exploring it, they all of a sudden started, bullying him and playing pranks on him. And the kid thought they were friends, so he didn't understand. And the mother saw what was going on, told him not to go out. He snuck out anyway to be with his friends. And they all started saying the Hail Mary while they murdered him. I think that something demonic came over these boys. It took advantage of maybe the innocence of this mentally ill boy who was very young for his age. If he was 15, he was actually, like 7. So it took advantage of that innocence as demonic entities normally do. And I think since then, they've, kind of blocked it. But that was a scary thing hearing about that. Even after I moved away from there. And I remember just being terrified of it. And there were those death metal high school kids. Hello, my beautiful mermaid. Hello, Cookie. It's funny how you guys are always missing together and then you show up together too.
Yeah, something up with that. There's a conspiracy
I'm
there.
just saying, not the first time. So yeah, I always wondered if, if it somehow senses it in you, and just walking by could make you possessed for a minute or two. To make you do something like that. The kids were so repentant and terrified of what they had done. They didn't even understand what they had done afterwards when they were going, to prison for the rest of their life or whatever happened to them. They were crying. They didn't remember that this kid was their friend. And I always believed them. Especially now, what I do for a living, I always believed them that something came over them. And I think it was something demonic. And like I was going to say, you have the death metal high school kids that used to hang out to scare the middle school kids, be like 666, but I think there really was demonic activity, devil worshiping going on there.
No. And that's what Sunshine was saying in the chat there. Could they be possessed? And there's different levels. I mean, there's possession, there's oppression, there's obsession. All that is demonically related, where it can take you over for a short period of time or cause you to do things. And we're going to get into that more next season, that you don't necessarily, you wouldn't do or you wouldn't have thought about doing. I can point to, I don't know how many different murders where people talk like that they, something happened. They became a different person. It seemed like something welled up inside them. Jackie, good to have you with us. That's my favorite Matt Potter from Down Under. Me and Jackie are going to get together in her camper van and take out the bush track in the outback.
Oh,
Jackie lives a nomad lifestyle. Very envious of her.
Guys, he just said get together in the camper van, and I know that's not what he meant, but I've got to tell you guys something.
Yes.
Steve is like the sexiest man ever. That voice, and there's a smoldering fire behind those gentle eyes. All the ladies want him. All the guys want to be him. A true Renaissance man. That was a comment left underneath one of our videos. I told you, Steve gets the ladies, guys. I'm sorry. I forgot I was planning on mentioning that. Look how embarrassed. He didn't know I was going to do that. Look how embarrassed.
Blush here. I don't. I get some comments. I get some really strange emails sometimes too. But no, I envy Jackie's lifestyle. She gets, she tools around there in the outback and she makes pottery and just, I would love to be able to do that and investigate haunted stuff too. Grey Wolf Paranormal. Thank you. Okay.
Steve's bringing sex and vibe. Yeah. Don't leave your girl around, Steve.
It is what it is. Somebody asked me that. I said, did you get a lot of girls with that voice when you're a teenager? I'm like, I didn't have this voice when I was a teenager. Okay. I didn't start sounding like Wilford Brimley or Sam Elliott until I was much older in life.
So,
diabetes.
Do you want to end
on TV?
Do you want to end with Lambertville High School, or do you have something else you'd rather? How about Devil's Tower? Because there are things still happening around that.
Yeah, if you want to go ahead and take that one, I'm not familiar with it, and I'm still a little shooketh right here.
Okay. The Devil's Tower, and if you look it up, it really is a magnificent tower. It has a panoramic view of New York City. I just want to look exactly where it is. Where is the Devil's Tower in New Jersey? My spell check always changes it to, instead of New Jersey, it changed it to no, don't go there. So it's located in Alpine, which is a pretty upper class place. I've traveled there with my son's father many times when he would deliver these stone balusters or whatever. So this is one of the scariest places in New Jersey. In 2012, Forbes magazine actually ranked Alpine as America's most expensive zip code with an average home price of $4.25 million. So Jay-Z lives there. So it's located in a place called Rio Vista, which is an upscale neighborhood in southern Alpine. But the tower is a stone clock tower that's claimed to be haunted. And it was originally built by a sugar baron named Manuel Rionda, who died in 1943. It was in order to allow his wife to see New York from New Jersey side of the Hudson River. And that's one thing about living, especially in northern New Jersey where I live. We have amazing, amazing views of the New York City skyline, especially at night when it's all lit up. There's nothing like it, in my opinion. So his mansion was the biggest one on the Palisades, with a mansion on the cliffs where the present-day Alpine Lookout is located, where I've also been there. My son's father took me there. The legend has it that when his wife saw him with another woman, she jumped off the tower and died. After becoming upset over his wife's death, he stopped all work on the tower. Rionda did. He was building it for her, and he was, he loved his wife. In reality, I'm sorry, I lost what I was saying. Oh, the estate was later subdivided into 197 housing sites consisting of miles and miles of roadway infrastructure. So there are a lot of legends that come from this tower, though. Legends of Satanists, marital infidelity, dying because of yourself. Also, ghost conjuring. There's a legend that says if you drive your car around the tower in reverse, the ghost of the lady appears, who is probably the wife of Riondo. And legend also states that if you walk or drive around it 6 times backwards, the devil himself will appear. It was sealed up because of constant break-ins, but here's the thing. It's absolutely beautiful. And but here, I'm sorry, I get confused because I have like 4 thumbnails open. There have been many attempts to demolish it because of people breaking in and the cost to continuously just keep boarding it up and to have security go around it. But a lot of workers, at least 6 that I know of, have been known, people who are working on demolishing it, were known to die due to strange circumstances, like, you know, car accidents on the way home or equipment while, you know, trying to shut things down or fix things near or around the tower falling on them. One guy had a tree fall on him as he was doing like escaping around the tower. So yeah, this place is definitely beautiful. I don't even know if you can get to the top of it anymore because it's been boarded up with people, you know, obviously ruining it and vandalizing it all the time. And you know, there's a lot of, maybe not now, I don't know what the kids these days do, but back in the 80s and early 90s, there was a lot of not just satanic panic in New Jersey. There was actually a lot of devil worshiping going on. I at least know in my area, like the Hail Mary murder and a lot of stuff with the gates of hell. And that I think a lot of towns in New Jersey actually have a gates of hell. But this one in Clifton was definitely real. And there was a lot of that going on in the 80s and early 90s.
I wanted to mention before I got dumbstruck there with you, sharing those compliments about me. But a lot of people, they play around with that stuff. But that's the thing, evil doesn't play. You may do it in a lighthearted way, and yeah, it's a bunch of metal kids going to get together out in the woods and just have a laugh and put satanic graffiti over everything, and you know, maybe sacrifice a duck or something. But I've heard of even a case of pure demonic possession by people that were just fiddling around with it and didn't mean to get into it at all. But whatever the powers and things that you're dealing with, now this is just Steve Stockton's opinion here, the powers that you're dealing with, they don't play around, and I think they almost consider that you mocking their power if you're playing and making fun. They're like, okay, we're going to show you. Back where I was from, I knew some girls that tried to summon a demon to go and bother another girl that they just didn't like at school. You know, one of those, you know, you can't sit at our table type things. But they ended up summoning 13 demons, and every single person that was involved in this had something happen to them. One broke her leg in a car crash. One's parents died in a fire. There was all these different things to happen to every single person that tried to summon this demon. So it's just, you know, one of those caveats that don't summon more demons than you know how to handle or what to do with. Because even people that practice, you know, demonic stuff, there's a certain way that you have to go about it. You have to open and close things, and you have to have protections and all this. Or, you know, it's kind of like the Frankenstein thing. You can create something that'll come back on you. Melissa Nicole, we all love you.
I was just going to type, I love
in
you.
the chat. Nobody,
about?
You are a badass girl. We all love you. But anyway, it's not something that you play around with. And even a Ouija board or something like that, it can be used as a tool. I think inherently a Ouija board is just an object. It's neither good nor bad. It's your intent. But again, if
I beg to differ, sir.
like having a firearm, you know, the firearm only does what you tell it to. It's not going to shoot anybody unless you point it at them and pull the trigger. Kind of the same with a Ouija board. It can be used as a tool for scrying. It can be used to contact the other side. But if you know what you're doing, if you know, you treat it with respect, you open and close it properly, you take the precautions. I've been places where it was done that way, and I didn't. It was more interesting than frightening. But then I've been other places where people were just messing around with it and being disrespectful and things, and then that seems to be where the crazy stuff happens, where you get the Zozo or some other truly evil demonic energy that comes through. But again, that's my opinion. That and $5 will get you a cup of coffee at Starbucks.
Your 2 cents isn't going to make me any richer, so why don't you go ahead and keep it? Yeah, guys, I ruined the first 15 minutes of the stream anyways. People are going to be like, oh my God, that's got to be Gemma's fault that this is going on. I honestly still don't know what I did different, but I do apologize, Dezombified. I am hoping to have headphones by next week. As soon as I was getting paid, I was planning on buying a pair. I even asked Steve what he uses because I was going to grab me a pair of them. So
AKG K240 Studios. You can wear them all day and they don't hurt
I know you sent it to me. I'm saying my goodbye now. God, Steve, you're always interrupting Gemma.
Okay, Gemma.
No. God, Gemma. Steve, speak. So yeah, Dezombified, I apologize for that, and everyone who had to listen to it. Also, everybody, thank you so much for coming and showing your support of us. Nick Y, thank you for showing up. I love when people that I know in real life come in and show their support. My mom, my dearest, I love you so much. Sorry, I forgot to call you again, but I'll speak to you Sunday, actually, because that's the only day that I have off, because I do have to start thinking about an idea for the book cover. I love you all so very much. I appreciate every single one of you. I released something today. I released a video today. Yeah, I released the 10 most common experiences of people who have had a near-death experience and gone to hell. I know that's a mouthful. Or heaven, actually. I did hell last week. And Friday is going to be The Curse of Little Bastard, James Dean's Porsche. If you guys have any paranormal or supernatural stories or encounters, even short fiction stories that you want me to read in my Listener Encounters series, please email me at gemmajadeParanormal@gmail.com. And if there's anyone in here that is not subscribed to my channel already, please go on over there. If one of the mods would be so kind as to put my channel in the chat. My mom made me blush. Love you, my beautiful daughter. I love you too, mommy dearest. She hates when I call her that. Yeah, so
all right. More wire hangers.
No more wire hangers. She used to yell that like on purpose to be funny when I'd call her that. So now we just call each other dearest. But sometimes I like to do that because she gets so mad. She's like, I hate when you call me that. Guys, be kind to each other always. Always go in grace. No more masks, so you can smile at a stranger, and I guarantee you they'll smile back. And all right, Steve, say your goodbyes, and I'll wait in the wings here. I just had my large Dunkin' Donuts frozen caramel with whipped cream, and of course, I have to go pee-pee. So
would that be buffalo wings you're waiting in? Just thanks everybody for showing up. But Sunshine, you were posting some interesting theories in there. Please do email me, stevestockton81@gmail.com. I want to talk to you about some information I've got concerning what's going on at CERN. Some stuff that I haven't really spoken of publicly. But thanks everybody for being here. Love each and every one of you. I will see you tonight at midnight on my other channel, 13 past midnight, for Ghost Stories at midnight. And then Missing Persons Mysteries that I'm logged in with that channel here. We've got videos coming out all week. Trying to remember, we just did a 50 case episode. We got another Missing Persons one up, and we've got some more good stuff coming up over there. So like, subscribe, and share. And thanks to Dezombified for giving us this platform and letting us come into their yard and play once a week. We love it over here. And I will see everybody tonight. And Sean G, we'll see you on Saturday. We'll see anybody else. I think I've got everybody. If anybody else has got a channel, I think we got them all covered, though. All right, folks, we're going to hop on out of here. Got to go see a man about a dog myself and then get dinner started. But thanks, each and every one of you. Till we meet again, I'm Steve Stockton, and I'll talk to you next time. Mwah. Love you guys. Gemma, thank you. On behalf of Gemma and myself, thanks, everyone. And we'll see you next week for more Real Evil.